Hello everybody and welcome to the Happy Dystopian. I would like to thank all viewers and specifically the subscribers for boosting the number to 10. Great stuff, keep it up. This week I want to talk to you about inequality and how although this is a serious problem, more government is not the answer. Let's get started. Last week IMF chief Kristalina Georgieva warned governments about the economic inequality which has been exacerbated by the COVID crisis. Georgieva is especially concerned about social unrest and the polarization of politics. First of all, I think it is good that the IMF is concerned about this issue. What I take issue with, however, is the solution that Georgieva proposes. The solution is higher taxing of the wealthy, as well as a higher government spending to make public funds available for those who are less fortunate. If we look at the graphic of government spending as a share of GDP, you will see that the government share of the economy has increased tremendously over the last years. In many EU countries, the government already controls over half of the economy. This share has only increased in the wake of the pandemic, as governments have bailed out companies and have partly footed the bills for wages in many sectors. Even though government spending has increased tremendously, inequality has only widened. If we look at this graph by famous economist Thomas Piketty, we see a sharp increase in the income share of the top 10%. This is closely related to the share of the economy which is paid out as salaries versus a share of the economy which is paid out as profits. Why is this important? Because income from labor is the key to social mobility and an increase in the relative wealth of the have-nots. The non-labor income rewards those who have assets such as shares in a company and other properties. The labor income rewards people for their work. Someone who does not own a house, a stock portfolio, or a large savings account can only increase their wealth by selling their labor. Working longer hours or increasing their productivity through education and experience are viable paths to greater wealth. A higher labor share not only increases opportunity for those who do not own wealth to achieve it through the fruits of their labor, but also it increases the relative reward of wages while moderating profits, thus having an equalizing effect. What I would like to argue for is that higher government spending has not helped, but has in fact contributed to this lower share of labor in the economy. Why so? First of all, economies have increased the tax burden to pay for their increased expenditure. As the wealthy have always had access to ways to dodge the tax, this burden has mainly fallen on the shoulders of working people. The increased tax base has however not been enough to finance all government expenditure, and therefore governments have started to borrow more and more to make up for the deficit. Government debt as a percentage of GDP has risen significantly after the 2007 financial crisis in all major European countries. Some countries have instituted austerity measures, decreasing expenditure while increasing income where possible. In the following years, however, the total debt burden has remained higher than it was in 2007. Currently, borrowing is breaking all records in an attempt to deal with the economic consequences of the pandemic. As I explained in episode 2, this means an increase of the supply of money in the economy. When a government borrows from the central bank, money is created. As the money supply increases, prices go up, lowering the value of money. This primarily impacts wages and savings, which are denominated at a fixed value. Assets, which have a market value on the other hand, go up in nominal terms. Therefore, the value of assets such as houses, company shares and cryptocurrencies is at an all-time high. So while the rich have become richer, wages have not increased at the same speed. Finally, if we go back to Piketty's inequality chart, you see that the great equalizing event in recent history was the Second World War. In those times, many companies went bankrupt, while properties lost their values in a period of immense upheaval. The current pandemic could also be such an event in which properties lose their value and labor becomes a more important factor in the GDP. Sadly, governments are doing all they can to bail out companies which would otherwise go bankrupt. In other words, government spending is used to maintain the current unequal situation. In conclusion, government spending is increasing the inequality in 3 ways. Firstly, by raising taxes on salaries. Secondly, by increasing inflation. And thirdly, by using their money to bail out companies, allowing stockholders to keep their advantageous position versus the have-nots. And apparently the solution is even more government spending. I think increased spending will make the problem worse than it is today. If we continue to look at increased government spending to solve the problem, it will at some point become unsustainable. Although an economy may function very well at a 50% government share of the economy, it is unclear if an economy can perform successfully at a 60%, 70%, or an even higher share. We may be sleepwalking into a government-led economy, such as in the former communist world, which is doomed to fail eventually. We need a different solution if we are going to avoid this dystopia. I am looking forward to hear your opinion. Thanks for watching, stay sane, and I will see you next week.